We like to judge boxers' successes by sports achievements, but we better remember about, perhaps even more important, financial issue. The first thing is to understand is that boxing is a business, and every boxer is a businessman who wants to make the most profit. As in any other business, there are outright losers or those who burned out close to the top. But there are certain Elon Musks and Bill Gates who made a fabulous fortune. That's exactly the kind of financial geniuses we're going to talk about today. Folks, this video will be dedicated to the 10 richest boxers of all time. Please don't forget to like, leave a forward comment and subscribe so you never miss new videos. Keep in mind that we will mainly be talking about the income from the fights only, and the figures may not always be 100% reliable. Now we are ready to go. Number 10. Muhammad Ali, $50 million. A true legend of boxing stands at the entrance of the world of luxury. The greatest was one who made a real financial revolution by his Ali Act, which essentially forbade promoters to rob sportsmen. Ali was a real money magnet, not least because of his immortal trash talk. No one talked like Ali did, and probably no one else will. Press conferences, which were not of interest to ordinary people for a long time, blossomed under Muhammad and became an obligatory element of the show. Due to the tremendous show, as well as the inimitable style of the boxer, Ali's fights were awaited and wanted to watch till the very end. During all his performances, from the early 60s till the tragic fight against Larry Holmes, Muhammad made $50 million, and about $8 million of it was brought to him only by the rumble in the jungle against Foreman. For modern boxing, $8 million per fight is standard numbers for big-name guys, but at that time, it was unbelievable money that other boxers could only dream about. I know there will be some mathematicians among you who will want to know Ali's income adjusted for inflation, so I'll give you the numbers. In terms of today's currency rates, the greatest earned over $300 million over the course of his career. With so many greenbacks, the legendary heavyweight could easily be in the top 5, but we count earnings only at the time of his professional career. So Ali stays in this place, being the only boxer from the top who performed in the 60s and 70s. No one earned more than Muhammad at that time. Number 9. Sugar Ray Leonard, $105 million. From the beginning of the golden era of boxing, we move forward a few years to meet another dollar millionaire, Sugar Ray Leonard. During Ray's time, the insane interest in the heavyweight division alone began to fade and fans' eyes were opened. Wow, there are other weight classes, they exclaimed, and began to follow the middleweights with the Fabulous Four, represented by Hearns, Hagler and Duran, with whom Leonard had a special love. In 1979, the Olympic champion won his first title and got only $1 million for the victory, but a year later he fought with the biggest non-American boxing star, Roberto Duran. The Panamanian horror was messing all over the weight class and was not going to stop even for the young champion. Gentle Ray faced the beast who got out of poverty and was willing to do anything to avoid being broke again. Despite his defeat, new former champion made his record $9 million, and later in the rematch he took his revenge on Roberto and got $7 million more. After that, Ray's performances brought him at least $5 million in his bank account, and in a fight with another member of the Fabulous Four, Marvin Hagler, Leonard made $11 million. Even for the most recent fights in which Leonard was more a fractured veteran, he was paid astronomical money, causing every other boxer in the world to look at it and wonder, why him but not me? Ray's main financial achievement is that he became the first boxer to make $100 million by fighting only, which, adjusted for inflation, would be at least twice as much. The champion of the past showed everyone that it is possible to swim in money, even not being a knockout master. Number 8. Lennox Lewis, $140 million. And we are getting closer to the modern times and jumping back into the heavyweight division. Lennox Lewis just couldn't help but appear in this video as he was part of the biggest money fight of the 20th century, but more on that later. For a long time, the Lion's fees didn't match his skills because the fans didn't recognize Lennox's greatness, but in 1997 that all changed. That year, Lewis rematched his only loss to Oliver McCall and got his belt back, and soon he was in for some incredible fights against Holyfield. They were incredible not because of the entertainment or the heat, it was all about the money. Old Don King did a great job and made sure that the fights was watched by a maximum number of people. Plus, Holyfield was going after the win over Tyson and was at his peak of his popularity. The Lion had totally outboxed Evander, but the judges made the weirdest possible decision, a draw, which, however, only made a reason to hold the second fight. Was there any sense in it though? For this fight alone, King, Lewis and Holyfield made $140 million combined. It was rumored that King controlled everything, including the judges' board. One of the main arguments was a bet by an unknown man who loaded $10 million on a draw with the odds of 27. Unfortunately, we won't know anything now, but the fact remains that Lewis had a payday, and in the rematch he truly won and made almost as much as in the first fight. But these fees for Holyfield were nothing compared to the biggest player in the business, Mike Tyson, about who we will talk about separately. Lewis didn't even have to worry about promoting the fight because the Iron Mike did everything himself. As a result, the champ punched Tyson and each of them got a fat slice of the pie, $35 million. This amount was a record for the British and made the maximum contribution to his total capital of 140 million greenbacks. Number 7. Tyson Fury $195 million. Let's move on to Tyson Fury, the man who, according to some not-so-smart guys, has already eclipsed the Lion, another British star with a controversial legacy. Meanwhile, there's nothing stopping the Gypsy King from making more and more money with every fight. Naturally, the main boom in Fury's career came after the fight against Klitschko, or rather during the pre-fight promotion. A press conference in a Batman suit was something new, and people were attracted to it. For the fight itself, Fury took $6 million home and disappeared. And when he returned, he almost immediately faced Wilder. For the controversial draw, Tyson earned a comparable $7 million and hasn't gotten less since then. $30 million and probably $35 million for Dillian Whyte, who was defeated before he even entered the ring. Whatever the Gypsy King asks for, promoters and managers go and do it, including bringing him truckloads of money. Fury was paid $34 million to face Derek Chisora, who was on his downfall. But it wasn't enough for Fury, and for the fight against Usyk, the British asked for nearly $100 million, and the rumors say that his request was approved. Unfortunately, even this kind of money, which we mortals can't even fathom, didn't attract Fury, and he withdrew because of his fears. The total payout for the heavyweight champion is now $195 million. One more, literally any fight, and he will cross the 200 mark. Number 6. Anthony Joshua $380 million. I think many of you are shocked by this place. Why Anthony Joshua, whose career only began in 2013, can really afford himself and his great-grandchildren not to work and swim in money? And it's all about the cool sponsors, but we'll talk about them in a minute. It's worth realizing that from the very beginning of his career, Joshua created interest around him. A 6'5" guy with huge chest and arms like they are made of steel. In addition to the Mr. Olympia look, AJ regularly gave us spectacular fights, ending them with knockouts. Joshua's homeland is Great Britain, and the country has always valued tough fighters to raise the international prestige of the nation, so money has never been a problem for the guy. But like all the heroes of this list, Anthony's career had a turning point, which for him was the fight with Klitschko. The British beat and finally dismissed the former champion at home stadium with a crowd of many thousands of people, for what he got as much as $25 million. Eddie Hearn skillfully led his boxer and made sure that Joshua would get more for each new entrance to the ring. By the time he was supposed to fight Povetkin, the champion had been promised a mandatory payment of $36 million. Soon the zeros in Joshua's payout would begin to fall to fit on a piece of paper, but he lost to Ruiz, and he still got $22 million for it. But just look at what happened in the rematch. The same Eddie Hearn arranged for the fight to take place in Saudi Arabia, where he had already found people interested in the fight. With the support of the Sheiks, Anthony got $85 million for a frankly boring fight. Fucking 85! You can do anything for that kind of money, so Joshua ran around the ring for 12 rounds. Just to give you an idea of how thrilling Joshua is to his Arabian fans, even losing his second fight against Usyk, the British made $80 million. At the very beginning of his career, the champion set the goal to become the first boxer who could earn $1 billion, and he was going very well. So far, the total payments for Joshua's fight amounted to $385 million. But considering his age and sponsors, the guy can easily double this sum. Number 5. Mike Tyson, $470 million. Here's a tidbit. Mike Tyson opening the top 5. Who, if not Iron Mike, could have climbed so high to outshine all the previous 5? We all know how Tyson was screwed over for a catastrophic amount of money back in the day, and in general, he doesn't have as much now as he could have. But that doesn't stop Mike from being one of the richest boxers in history. Even though we hate Don King, we have to tip our hats to him because Mike's earnings are 80% of the credit to his promoter. Don began to represent the giant when he became unsupported, and from that moment on, things went uphill for Mike. The first fight under Don's guidance was against Trevor Berbick, for which he had already earned 3 times as much money as he had for the previous fight. And it only got better from there. The payouts didn't increase, but multiplied and became obscenely large. The enormous figure of $22 million appeared on paper when Tyson was paired against the undefeated Michael Spinks. Tyson tore apart the champion as early as in the first round and became the richest boxer of his time. When Tyson came back from prison, where Mike got the news that King had robbed him, he was getting 18 to 20 million for every boxing match until he faced Holyfield and made 10 million more. It's scary to think how much money there is in this business. After that, there was a financial lull and a small slump until they organized a match against Lewis, and the already mentioned record of $35 million was set. Even in his last matches where he fought for money, Tyson made $20 million, which tells us a lot about the media and people's passion for this guy. Mike made a total of $470 million over the years, and one can only guess how much old King robbed away. Number 4. Manny Pacquiao, $490 million. You know, there is still justice in this world, otherwise the man who set the unreachable record for the different weight division titles wouldn't be so high on the list. Manny Pacquiao is a boxer who has earned every cent with his hard work. Early in his career, when he was still a kid competing in the Philippines, Pac-Man fought for just food and barely survived, but when he moved to the United States, he was able to find a trainer who would lead him to greatness. With Freddie Roach, the boxing legend has come a long way. Manny first started making good money in the mid-20s when he fought Eric Moraes for $1.5 million. That was enormous money for Manny, but he was able to multiply it tenfold by fighting Oscar De La Hoya. The victory over such an eminent opponent made the name of the Filipino genius known all over the world, and that was the beginning of a phenomenal financial success. Since that day, the champion has earned less only a few times and regularly changed weight divisions, creating a huge excitement about his fights. Making about $35 million a year became the standard for Pac-Man. But there was one fight that could give him more than all of them combined. Of course, I'm talking about the confrontation with Floyd. By the time this encounter was finally organized, Manny's fans had aged out, but still shelled out their money to buy a broadcast and see their idol perform. Manny was the underdog, and the fight no longer looked like the smashing machine from the noughties. But none of that mattered anymore because the fight sold 4.5 million broadcasts. Nearly 5 million people saw it from home, and there were an incredible amount of fans in the stands. Tickets were snatched out of the hands of the cashiers that they were left with burns, and the boxer made a total of $400 million for their performance, 100 of 60 which went to Manny. Just so you understand the level difference, Lennox Lewis made less in his entire career than Pacquiao did in one damn ring appearance. After that, the Philippines almost $500 million. Number 3. Saul Alvarez, $500 million. Ask any boxing fan who is the biggest boxer in the sport for the last 5 years, 90% won't hesitate to answer Canelo, and they'll be right. Even since the days when Alvarez was fighting in Mexican markets for a pound of rice, the wise people have been betting big on him. Obviously, the rice is a joke, but at the beginning of his career, the Mexican was making $400 a fight or even less. The dramatic change came when Canelo stopped fighting exclusively with other Mexicans and came to the American ring, and the first million in his contract appeared before his fight against Shane Mosley. Next was a match against Floyd, who stripped and made the Mexican look like a toddler, but Saul still got about $14 million for it. The real fame and success came to the guy after he brutally outboxed Miguel Cotto, taking more than $20 million. Finally, the seven-figure fees established themselves with the move up to middleweight. The Mexican took home a total of $75 million in a dialogy with Golovkin. The P4P King has consistently made around $30 million for all his subsequent opponents, and a trilogy with the Kazakhstan veteran brought in another $40 million. What's the secret to Alvarez's stunning success? Maybe he has the same sheiks as Josh. No, it's just that Canelo has an entire country following him, and he's also adored in America for his fighting style and catchy looks. And when you sell broadcasts, everyone will do business with you. So Saul has managed to work with Golden Boy as well as Dazn, recently renewing their contract for $85 million. At the moment, Saul is far away from number 1 in this ranking, but after the fight with Jermell Charlo, he will climb to the second place and probably will hold it for several more years. Number 2. Oscar De La Hoya, $510 million. It's hard to get up for a run at 5 in the morning when you sleep on silk sheets, Oscar De La Hoya once said, and who, if not him, fully understands the meaning of this quote. The story of the Golden Boy is a typical example of how a man gets out of poverty, receives international recognition, and loses himself. But it's hard to imagine the scale of Oscar's situation. After winning the Olympics, the kid became a professional boxer and conquered several weight classes before decapitating the famous Julio Cesar Chavez. He soon did so with undefeated world champion Pernell Whitaker. Oscar was paid $10 million for that victory. The guy who came out of nowhere was actually rewriting history, so he quickly got on Bob Arum's radar and quickly became his mentee. This is when the serious promotion of the guy began. Top Rank did not spare any money on him, as Oscar not only paid the investment but often doubled it. Forbes magazine named the boxer one of the richest athletes of the modern era, with earnings of $38 million in 1 year. In the next couple of years, Hector Camacho, a genius from Puerto Rico, was defeated by De La Hoya, and Oscar was paid not less than $20 million. The main day of the life of Golden Boy was the September 18, 1999, where he faced the equally undefeated Felix Trinidad in the fight of the millennium. Tickets for the fight were sold out in an hour, and the whole world was holding its breath waiting for the name of the champion. Trinidad won by a very close decision, but Oscar still got a cosmic $25 million in his hands. The fight with Tito was a turning point in De La Hoya's career, who in addition to his passion for boxing was overcome by his love for alcohol and cocaine. He was no longer the Golden Boy that had been before, but he continued to win often and get sensational checks. For example, Oscar was paid as much as $50 million for a fight against a young Floyd, almost defeating him. If you add up all the payments received by the Golden Boy over the years of his fights, we got $510 million. This amount was announced by the mentioned Forbes magazine. Number 1. Floyd Mayweather, $915 million. The title of the best and richest boxer of all time go alongside one man, Floyd Mayweather. If Ali taught boxers how to make $5 million a fight, Floyd increased that amount 50-fold. At the beginning, Mayweather was a very talented and daring guy who took any fight he wanted and fought for relatively little money. It's no big deal, $3 million here, $5 million there. At least that's what Floyd thought when he broke contract with Top Rank in 2006 and paid $750,000 compensation. Why did he do so? The champion realized that he could make much more money if he would run his business himself, not depending on the wishes and opinion of Bob Arum. That same year, he founded his own promotion company, and instead of Pretty Boy, he took the now iconic nickname Money. It all took Floyd a while, but since 2009, he started to build his legacy. We're not even going to talk about the fights for which he earned 40 to 50 million. Those are laughable numbers for a man whose total income from boxing is almost $1 billion. The two most financially successful fights in Floyd's career were against Pacquiao and Conor McGregor. For the fight against the Filipino, money got between 250 and 300 million, according to various estimates. Can you feel the difference? This guy made more in one fight than Anthony Joshua did in his entire career. But it got even bigger when UFC star, the notorious McGregor, decided to have a super fight against Floyd and make a ton of money. Mayweather went for it and not only outboxed McGregor, knocking him out, but also added another $350 million to his account. In a total of 1 hour in the ring, the legend made more money than every modern boxing star. Floyd played his game so correctly and accurately that none of the promoters could think of disagreeing with his terms. Money showed other boxers that their earnings would depend entirely on whether they used their brains and train hard. With $915 million from fights, Floyd beat his former rival Oscar by nearly twice as much and took over the top spot. And that's it. Did you like the video? Then make sure you like it and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. What do you think? Do boxers deserve such big fees, or are they all overrated? Be sure to share your opinion in the comments.